Hey y'all, welcome back to the vlogcast. It's just me today. It's a solo vlogcast. I'm gonna talk about some like serious budget stuff, and Cullen he's the free spirit in the relationship.
Oh my god. Oh shoot. Oh Lord.
And I'm the nerd. If you're familiar with the Dave Ramsey terms, I am the one who enjoys looking at the numbers, enjoys doing all the analytical stuff, and this stuff is just super boring to him. So it was just easier and better for me to come on here and tell you all this stuff myself. I wanted to make a video today kind of talking about how we got started budgeting, how to start budgeting, how to start paying off debt. I feel like it can seem really overwhelming, and any videos that I've seen or things I've heard are kind of like, okay, so you need to start looking at your expenses and deciding where you can cut and getting rid of subscription services you don't need, and all that sounds nice and dandy. But a lot of us, including where we were, have been at points where we're like, I have absolutely no idea where all my money is going, and I feel like it is all over the place. It's on like 5 different cards in 7 different accounts, and everything is everywhere, and I don't even know where to start. Like, sure, I can cut the $15 a month Netflix bill, but how's that gonna help when I'm like $200,000 in debt? It can be overwhelming. If you're watching this video, you're most likely somebody who is looking to get out of debt, and I feel like there's probably 2 types of people here. There are people who you are behind on all your bills, you got creditors calling you constantly, you're fed up, and you're like, screw it, I've got to do something. This is out of control, and it's a little bit urgent. I feel like there's also people here who are current on everything, you're paying your bills, but you're just realizing that a lot of your money's going to debt, you feel like you're overspending, you know you could get a better handle on your finances, it's not quite so urgent, but you're ready for change. There's probably some in between people too, but I'm kind of gonna talk to both of those sets of people in a sense of there's a way to get this done, and just like, there's no stopping me. I'm doing this all right now. I'm gonna start my new budget tomorrow, and I'm gonna start paying off debt tomorrow. I'm gonna sell everything but what's attached to my house tomorrow. And then I'm gonna go the route of like, let's just gradually get into this and see where you can go and how you can get there. Take your time as you're comfortable. If you're at that spot of you're comfortable, you're current, but you need to start paying off some debt, don't wait and start just because it seems too hard or too complicated, because that's where we were about a year before we got to the desperate position. I really wish we had opened our eyes and started sooner, because it would have been a whole lot easier. Of course, I wouldn't change anything about our situation, and we wouldn't have learned what we learned without it. But if you're there, don't let the complicatedness of a budget stop you. If you have ever tried to do a budget or look at your finances before and failed, I feel like one of the main reasons that happens is that somebody might look at other people's standards or other people's budgets and compare and try to start off from the get-go with not looking at any of your current spending habits, not looking at where your money's currently going. You might start out and say, okay, I'm gonna make a budget. I watched so-and-so's video and they spend $400 a month on groceries, and they only go out to eat once a month, and so they spend $50 on that. They only spend $10 a month on their pet food because they get it from the discount pawn shop down the street. Like, you start this budget and you start basing it on somebody else's standard, and then you're a week in and you're like, I can't do this. I already spent $450 and I'm over the grocery budget, and it's the first week. So the important part of this is what I'm about to walk you through, and I feel like these are steps that very often get overlooked. The main point here is that you have to start by looking at what you're already spending in order to make feasible, doable, achievable adjustments in your budget and to be successful with budgeting and with paying off debt. So the very first step that I took when we got to the point of, crap, what just happened? Our credit cards are all maxed out. We have $0 in the checking account, and we can't pay our power bill this month. When we got to that point, it was like, okay, I knew we needed to get a handle on this, but now it's a desperate situation. Why don't we have any money? We're getting paid, why don't we have any money? So the first thing that I did, the very first step, is to sit down and look at your previous month. So say right now we're in the middle of May or towards the end of May. So you're gonna wanna go back and look at April. You wanna look at the previous full month, an entire month, and look at your definites, your bills that you pay every month, whether you're actually paying them or not, the bills that you're supposed to be paying every month. So your mortgage or rent, your power bill, your natural gas bill, your water bill, trash your cell phone bill, your internet, your cable. For us, we also tithe to our church. So your tithe to your church, your childcare, health insurance, car insurance, homeowners insurance, kids activities, like we have a monthly gymnastics bill. We used to have a monthly karate bill. Any subscription services that you're subscribed to. So if you have Netflix or you have like a grocery delivery service or any type of those subscriptions. If you have a cleaning lady, if you have a yard guy, if you have like medications that you get every month or specific vitamins or supplements or gym memberships, any other memberships. We were members of a country club. Any of those bills that come in every month, they're basically in the same range every month. You wanna go in and kind of look through your accounts, pull up all of your accounts, every credit card you have. For me, I find it easier to print those out. So go back and find the previous entire month, April 1st to April 30th, and then kind of just go through and highlight the numbers so that you can add them up. For some people, you may be able to just look at your screen and add them up on your screen if you wanna just kind of do this quickly and get a rough idea. But if you wanna get serious about it, print them out, highlight them, and add them up. Okay, so once you've looked at all these definites, you wanna add that up and see how much you're spending just on things that you pay every month to keep your life running. So then you're gonna take your monthly paycheck, your monthly income that you have coming in, and subtract the amount of the bills from that monthly income. So say your monthly household take-home pay is $5,000 a month. You add up all your bills, all your constants for each month, and it's $3,000 a month. That leaves you $2,000 left. And I remember having kind of a similar amount remaining at the end of the month, and I was like, oh, okay, well, we're good. So like, why don't we have money? Because $2,000, that should be plenty to spend on groceries and gasoline and clothes and, you know, whatever else needs to be spent for the month. Just that part was eye-opening for me. That was the first step where I was kind of like, whoa, we need to like see if we can back off some of these bills. And I'd had so many bills on auto pay that I was just not even looking at. And it was like our cell phone bill had gradually creeped up. We hadn't redone our contract or redone our plan in several years, and it gradually creeped up. Our internet and cable bill had gradually creeped up. So I went on to our cell phone carrier website and started looking at different plans. So just in looking online, I was able to find that I could basically cut our cell phone bill in half and still have all the same services and actually get a couple more services and unlimited data on top of that. Staying with the same cell phone provider, not getting a new phone, a new number, nothing. Just looking within our current cell phone provider. So we actually had a vlog about this back in December, and just in calling and asking for different lower rates from different companies for our monthly bills, we were able to save $3,000 a year. That's a lot. That's $250 a month that we were saving just by asking for a new plan. It blew my mind. I was like, we've just been sitting here just handing out an extra $250 for no reason when we could have had it cheaper. So that's kind of the very first step, is just looking at your constants. Like I said, if you are on the I gotta get some crap paid and get out of the situation because I'm about to lose my house, then you're gonna wanna continue going and keeping moving on. If you're in a spot where you're just kind of still trying to figure this out, which we were in between those two at that point, all of that was just a little bit overwhelming to me to like see these numbers, to realize like the reality of what was going on in our lives with our finances. So I had to just take a step back for a couple weeks and kind of just let that all simmer and start kind of processing in my brain what needed to happen. If that is you, just stop at this point, take a look at everything, let it sit for a minute. This is the point where it's good to talk to your spouse or your partner or whoever about what's going on. Look at the numbers. I wouldn't overwhelm them with like all the statements and all the things if they're not the one that likes all the numbers and all the analytics. Maybe just saying, hey, I added up, this is how much we're spending on bills, this is how much we're making, this is where we're overspending, this is how much I was able to save just on our cell phone bill, etc. And then kind of over the next few weeks or however long you need, start just noticing when you're swiping your card what you're spending money on. You've already taken a look at your bills, you've already done what you can to get some of those down, but start looking at where you're spending and just be aware, no judgment of yourself, no like shaming of anybody, just notice. Just take notice of what you're doing and how much you're spending. Oh, I probably didn't really need that Starbucks. I probably didn't really need that new pair of shoes because I actually have a pair of shoes at home. You may be ready to start cutting back on some of that. You may be able to like start noticing and stopping yourself from overspending at that point, even without having a budget in place yet, just kind of backing off a little bit. So when you're ready, or if you never stopped and let all this simmer, the next step is to start looking at your spending numbers. So for me, what I did was I got a piece of paper and I wrote down 6 different categories. And these are gonna be a little bit different for everybody, but most people are going to have groceries, eating out, gasoline, entertainment, at least those 4. We also had pets, and then kind of a broader like shopping category. For us, it wasn't always clothes, but it was like something for the house or a new like electronic something, just spending, shopping. Maybe it's Amazon for you, maybe it's Target, maybe it's Walmart, maybe it is all those little dang Instagram sponsored boutique ads that pop up in your feed and you end up purchasing things. But have your little categories. You're gonna look at those sheets that you printed out from your bank statements, your bank, your credit card, your other credit card, maybe your other credit card. For me, it was easiest to go through and say, okay, I'm looking at groceries right now. And so I would take like a green highlighter, a green pen, and I would mark each of the charges that were grocery related. And then I would add that all up. And then there's my grocery total. Then I would take maybe a pink pen and I would highlight all of the eating out. And then I would add those all up. It doesn't have to be color coded. You don't have to highlight it. For me, being able to like keep my mind in the same place, this was the easiest method for me. You may find other categories that show up or pop up for you. Maybe you play golf a lot and so you have golf fees. And maybe you get your eyelashes done or you get your nails done every month or whatever it is. Make sure you have a category for the things that you're spending on. And then there's still gonna be some stragglers, like some random things that don't fit in a category. Maybe you bought somebody a birthday gift, but this is just gonna be those main categories that you're looking at. And you wanna make sure that you don't have any of the bills that you previously calculated in there. So if you calculated your gym membership or your monthly nail appointment or whatever into your monthly bills, make sure that's not in the spending category too. If you're like me, when you add this number up for spending, you might need to recalculate it a few times. You might need to sit down. You might need to take some deep breaths because I was like, are you kidding me? This is how much we've been spending on groceries every month. This is how much we've been spending on eating out. I could swear when I went to the grocery store, I bought stuff that was on sale. I could swear when we went to eat out, we were only doing fast food and we were only getting it from the dollar menu. How in the heck did we spend $700 on eating out this month? How do we spend $1,700 on groceries? And that was a very eye-opening moment for me. All of this, each step for different people is gonna take some time to process and take some time to see where you need to go from there. Once you have that number, you're gonna take again your monthly take-home pay, subtract out your bills, and then subtract out your spending. If you have a variable monthly income, you're gonna do this twice. The first time, take the lowest amount that your take-home pay ever is, subtract out your bills, subtract out your monthly spending, and then you're gonna take the highest it ever is, subtract out your bills, subtract out your monthly spending, and see if any of those come out above 0. My guess is that if you're in debt and you're struggling, you're probably not gonna come out above 0. So say for example, your monthly take-home pay is $5,000, your bills were $3,000, and then your spending is also $3,000, you're at negative $1,000. And that's why there's debt. That's where there's debt. And I remember having a moment like that where I was like, but how, we never overdraft our account. Well, sometimes, but we don't always. And so how is it that we're negative? And that's where debt comes from, because you're looking at this point, you're adding up different numbers from your credit cards and your bank statements. So the money you're putting on credit cards is just going there and sitting there, and it's $1,000 extra every month that you're not paying off right away. So at this point, you're aware. You kind of have a handle on everything. It might have taken you 2 months to get to this point, because just kind of recognizing, realizing, and taking it all in, for some people takes longer than others. You may only be about 20 minutes in at this point. You may have already calculated all these things, and that's great and wonderful. The next step is to make all of those numbers equal out so that you're not in the negative. And ideally, if you're trying to pay off debt, you're gonna wanna be in the positive so that you'll have extra money to put towards debt. If you have not been on a budget, it may seem really mentally distressing, overwhelming, depressing to look at that and think, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to cut out my monthly nail appointment. I'm gonna have to cut out eating out. And that can be hard to see, but sometimes you need that wake up call. For me, the first thing that was easiest to do at this point to try to get the numbers balanced, the mentally easiest thing for me was not making myself start with the things that I really enjoyed, like monthly pedicures or eating out, but starting with things that I'm like, okay, if I want to still get a pedicure every month, then what am I willing to give up to still be able to get my pedicure every month? You're probably not going to be getting your pedicure every month, but you're going to trick yourself at the beginning into thinking that that's what you're aiming for, right? So I started looking at the monthly subscriptions and whether we really needed them. We decided to let go of our monthly grocery delivery service. I also started looking at subscriptions that I completely had either forgotten or had no idea that we had. If you go to settings on your iPhone, at the top of it, there's like your name and your little logo icon thing, and it says underneath Apple ID. If you click on that, on the next screen, there is a button that says subscriptions. And if you click that, it will show you all of the subscriptions that you are subscribed to through your Apple ID. So for us, that's where Netflix is. We have a subscription to like a photo editing software that we use for work. But when I opened that up, I was shocked to find several things that I either wasn't using anymore and didn't realize I was still getting charged for them, because even if you're checking your bank account, it's gonna come through as Apple charge. And it's not gonna say like Netflix or my MyFitnessPal account that I was using to like track my weight and calories and all of that stuff. And at some point I'd signed up for the Plus membership when I was tracking more details about my health. Then I hadn't used it in a while, decided I didn't need it, and totally forgot I was still being charged for it. There were a couple of kids game apps that the kids had said, oh, I wanted to access like all the games on here. And so we had clicked like, oh, it's only $2.99, sure. Well, it's $2.99 a month. Maybe we didn't even notice that. So you can see when you're on that page, all the things you're subscribed to, when they renew, and how much they cost every time they renew. It's all right there. It's super easy to look at. That was a start in kind of cutting out each of those things. Like I said, you're gonna look at it and go, what's this $12 gonna make a difference? But as you're at the point of like actually doing these calculations, you're gonna see the number slowly going down. After I looked at subscriptions and things we didn't need, I had to really start questioning myself even more. What else don't we need? Do we really need the yard guy? Could we clean some things ourselves and not have a cleaning lady? Could we maybe think about date nights being date nights in instead of going out and spending money and paying a babysitter on top of that every time? Or could we even think about cutting back to maybe 1 out of the house date night a month and 3 in the house so that we're not spending as much money? So as you're taking things away, subtract it out of that spending category that you had calculated previously, and you'll see the number going down. You're probably not gonna see it go down low enough to even bring you back up out of the negative, depending on where you are in your financial journey. That's where you're gonna have to just keep going. You've gotten your bills down as low as you can. You're down to the basics, and things still aren't equaling out right. So you're gonna go to the spending column, the spending category, and you're gonna start looking at what seems outrageous to me. What do I look at and go, I thought I was doing well there, but we're still spending $1,500 a month in groceries. That's ridiculous. What can I do about that? And start kind of thinking about how you can cut back if you're looking at spending and going, dang, I'm spending $500 a month at Target. You might need to start not letting yourself go to Target to just grab a gallon of milk, because every time you go in there, you don't leave without spending $100. So this is also a point at which some people may kind of stop and say like, okay, I've gotten as low as I can and I don't know what else I can cut out without making life miserable for everybody. What the heck do I do? You can kind of start observing again if you need to, making the cuts that you've said you were gonna make. Start observing yourself again. Start recognizing, maybe allow yourself to push your hair appointment out a month, push your nail appointment out a couple weeks, and see if you can survive without that. Right now during this quarantine, we're all kind of learning a little bit of what we can survive without. If you've lived without it for the 2 months of being in quarantine, you might can live without it for longer than that to help get yourself out of debt. You just have to think about the fact that in order to get to the point of paying off debt and having financial freedom, you have to get the numbers to equal out every month. You have to get it so that you're not in the negative. The next thing that I initially forgot to look at, and then after I'd kind of been observing for a while and a couple things would pop up here and there, I was like, oh shoot, I need to look at yearly expenses, things that only go through once a year that I didn't even think about when I was calculating the monthly stuff. So again, then I started with things that had set costs, like our homeowners association fees, our Amazon Prime subscription, our Costco membership, contacts or glasses if you have those, yearly doctor visits, depending on how many people you have in your family and what doctors everybody sees, how much the co-pays add up to be for those over the year. So I went through those set numbers, and then I moved to the more variable things like kids' birthdays and birthday parties, Christmas, pet vaccines or pet medications, car maintenance, home maintenance, you know, just those general home things that you have to do, buying new air filters, all of that. Add up all those yearly things, divide all that by 12 for the 12 months, and then you're gonna get a specific number per month that you need to account for in your monthly spending. And to be completely honest with you, when I got to this point, that completely overwhelmed me. And I was like, WTF, there's no way. I've cut and I've cut and I've cut, and there's no way to make it all equal out to zero. If you're in that point, then you're gonna need to move on to the next step of figuring out how in the world to get your income up or to bring your payments down even more. If you're at a point where you think you're gonna be okay and you've cut enough stuff out and you've equaled things out, then you're ready to move on to actually making a budget and sticking to that and deciding what it needs to be and what you need to spend. But if you're still overwhelmed, this is the point when we started looking at what can we sell so that our monthly debt payments aren't as much. What can we sell just to get current on our bills, just to get to a place where the money coming in isn't already going out and there's no way to do a budget. That was the hardest part, was like the money that was coming in was going to bills that were overdue already. How do you even make a budget from like not a lot of dollars? There's just no way. You're gonna look at what you can sell. You're gonna look at how you can increase your income, whether that is getting a second job or picking up an extra shift. For us, picking up an extra shift meant looking at making different products that we could sell, you know, within our social media presence, being more active, putting out more videos, considering changing up our content, putting out different types of content, putting out different services or things that we could do to earn money within our existing profession. I think a lot of people automatically think you got to go deliver pizzas, you got to go get a job at the, you know, McDonald's to make a little bit of extra money here and there. And that can be helpful in some cases, but if you already have a job where you can increase your income within the job that you're already at, that's gonna give you more of a feeling of pride in your current work that you're doing. It's also gonna allow you to grow in the profession that you're in if you're already loving it, and progress within your company, within your business. And you're not gonna be wasting extra time looking for a job, applying for a job, doing job interviews, learning a new job, learning the new rules and regulations of delivering pizzas or whatever it is. So just kind of consider what the best option is for you. But if you're at that point, that's when the numbers, you've cut as much as you can and the numbers still aren't adding up, you're gonna have to start looking for ways to get additional income to bring in. As I started thinking about that to make myself feel better about this whole thing, I said, let me just calculate if I took out all of our minimum payments, if I took all of our debt away and didn't even calculate that in, let me see how things added up. And I saw that it wasn't hopeless, because when I did that, the numbers added up just fine. And we had plenty of money and everything was okay. So that made me think, okay, if we can just pay off this debt, we're gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be okay. We've gotta get caught up and we've gotta get things to where they balance out. But once we can get rid of this debt, it's gonna be okay. And we will have financial freedom. When you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling like it doesn't all add up, take some of those things away, take some of those numbers away, and look at what it will be like once you've paid off all your debt. The next step in the process here is really to start figuring out your budget and figuring out, hello, there's a dog. Figuring out what you're able to spend and what your budget's gonna be once you kind of get all these calculations done. That's a whole different topic, and I would love to cover that and how I kind of figured that out, because I feel like that's also a hard part for some people. But this beginning part of understanding your own personal situation and not just basing it, starting out trying to make a budget based on somebody else's experience, is incredibly important to help you not fail and to help you be successful as you've really become aware and taken a look at your own personal situation. So I'm gonna stop here and I will come back if you guys are interested and kind of show you how I went about creating the budget, how I went about figuring out what we could spend, what we needed to spend, and all of that within our budget as we went forward, as well as how we kind of started our debt snowball and how we started paying off debt. If y'all are interested in that, let me know. I would love to come back and talk to y'all about that. I hope that this has been helpful. If you have questions or thoughts or whatever, leave them in the comments below and I will try to answer as many as I can, or maybe even address them in a video if there's a lot of the same questions. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're interested in hearing more about this. We post debt videos. We're documenting our entire journey of paying off $100,000 in debt and getting our feet back on the ground. It also helps us if you give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and leave a comment, share it with your friends, share it with somebody who you think it might be helpful for. Thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you on the flip side. Bye.